So for 5.5 years, I was selling credibility and clarity. And a very short while ago, somewhere around 7, 8 months ago, a friend of mine sat me down and helped me recognize that clarity and credibility are what people need, not what they want. And I spent 5.5 years. I did okay. I enjoyed doing that. But I realized that the importance that I needed to focus on of what do people want? What are they asking for? So I currently have 2 businesses. I'll tell you what they are. And I'll give you my CPOP. CPOP stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. It is the formula in which you could articulate in less than 10 words the playground you play in. And I'm playing in 2 playgrounds. So as an executive coach, there's a particular group of CEOs that I'm particularly enjoy being around and add value to. Inc. 5000 CEOs leading the future with executive abundance. So that's 9 words. It's the WHO, Inc. 5000 CEOs leading the future with executive abundance. Now, if you're somebody who's a gatekeeper for a CEO or a CEO, what do CEOs want who are fast-growing companies? They want abundance. Great. They're going to ask me the question, tell me more. Now, the other group I'm working with is really interesting, and I absolutely love it. Business owners escaping slimy LinkedIn sales tactics. Well, that's the thing. There's so much I love the laughter, so thank you. There are so many people out there who have the answer or how you could be successful. And many of those successful tactics involve you doing things which are slimy.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have a wonderfully smiling, happy person on my screen with a really nice hat. And that's what I love. Mitchell's got a great hat. And he's here on the podcast. This gentleman has done a lot to date, with lots more coming down the road, which I'm excited to talk about. Mitchell's helped a lot of authors. Mitchell's written a lot of things. He's done the whole TEDx thing. He's got lots going on, and he's a great person to talk to. And you're going to enjoy listening to Mitchell today. Mitchell, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you on the show.
Dave, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great. Let's start here, because I like to start with everybody. At this point, where are you in this big world of ours, Mitchell?
Physically, I'm in Silicon Valley. Specifically, I'm in Cupertino, which is Apple country. Oh. Some people call it Appletino, but Hey.
Are there free apples for everybody in that part of the world?
There are not free apples. Occasionally, I've seen. Nope. I haven't seen anything that's. I would tell you when the iPhone came out and Apple did its deal with AT&T. AT&T does not have good coverage in Cupertino, at least way back when. So if you had a iPhone in Cupertino, you didn't get great coverage. But that was way back when. So that's the opposite of the benefit. I will tell you, real estate prices have gone up because of Apple.
Well, yeah. Okay. Wow. Talk about Apple not reading the room there. Like having the support to actually use their tools. That would be kind of nice to have that. So there you go. Good. Excellent. Mitchell, a little bit of your background as well. Like doing my research and chatting with you in the past, you've done a lot like in this space. I don't even know where to start with you because you got so much going on. But can you give people a little taste of your background a little bit before we talk more about your writing and authorship?
Oh, sure. So do about a minute or two-ish. Okay. And I'm going to present stuff, right? Good. This is what people consider to be important. What I'll say, what's important is who I'm with right now and how I can add value to them. Okay. But we'll go back. I've been in Silicon Valley for 38 years, happily married for 37. Nice. I've sat on the board of a public company for 9 years. I've created 20-ish companies, have a 27-year-old son who's amazing. I've run 4 different book publishing companies. We've published 750 books. I've written 65. My 66 is the most important book, but I think every author says the most current one's the most important. Okay. I've done 2 TEDx's, 1 commencement speech. in essence, I've had exposure to a lot and the opportunity to see the world, see humanity, and see how business runs in that world. And I have thoughts and ideas of what comes next. And so I love at first most being a servant leader. And so I between 2019 and 2020, I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. And so I have a really nice definition of what is credibility. And I'll bring that up so I can share that for those who, if you're watching this in video format, you could
Nice.
see the definition.
There you go.
Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And underneath those are 10 values. And one of the things that came out of the interviews is I have a superpower. So I'll stop with my superpower. And my superpower is I was able to download a formula, and that formula is can be applied to any company and any human. I've now done this over 1,000 times, and I've helped both companies and humans be able to articulate where they are executing on their purpose in less than 10 words. And that is a very cool superpower. And I've spent 5.5 years figuring out how best to apply it.
I like that condensed version. I've seen it kind of talked about as a bumper sticker on a car. I've seen it as a billboard for people catching people's attention when they're not thinking about looking at a billboard, kind of capturing who you are and how you show up in this world, and with a very limited audience and with people not knowing who you are, how you can stand out, and knowing why you do what you do and who you are in a 10-word construct. That's amazing.
Less than 10 words.
Less.
Than 10 words.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. With your background, with all of the authors that you've worked with, and helping authors to find their voice as a writer, I have a lot of authors that listen to this show, and they're here to learn. They're maybe fresh on their journey to become a writer. And when they hear 66 books for you personally, I can see them like just shaking their head back and forth like, how is it even possible? But for somebody new, Mitchell, if you were able to grab a coffee with somebody who's just starting their journey, what's your starting point for somebody new, encouraging them to share their story?
Well, let's be very focused on the type of authors of
Yeah.
who I am and the type of authors I work with.
Okay.
So I typically am not working with fiction.
Okay.
I'm working with nonfiction authors who are using an asset called a book to help them be better, whatever that is. Better could be they want to do speaking, they want to do coaching, consulting, they want to document something that can be used inside their company. In essence, it's a human who has value to add, and the book is a vehicle that adds credibility to the value they're adding. That's who I work with.
So when we talk about credibility, then let's expand a little bit more on that, because, you brought up the slide, and I just want to make sure people that are listening as well understand a little bit more about why this is so important from an author's perspective in daily life. Let's expand a little bit more on credibility.
So credibility is an interesting, I'm happy to share the slide again, but I don't want to get in the way of truly listening. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that's interesting, actually, maybe I will present it. It'd probably be worthwhile.
Yeah.
What happens is when, and let's use an interesting example. And I'm going to use LinkedIn as an interesting example. So let's say you're interested in finding someone, you're inside of a company. So we'll do the opposite side. You're inside of a company and you're looking for a speaker on, and fill in the blank on a topic, right? And you're going to use LinkedIn versus searching the web. So what happens if you're doing that search and you land on a LinkedIn profile? right? You're going to give that profile anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds to determine whether or not you trust that person. So do they seem authentic? You can't tell if they're coachable or vulnerable from looking at it, but do they authentically look trustworthy? What you're really looking for, if you can figure this out, but if that first 3 to 5 seconds says no, you're going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
You're then going to add another 15, 20 seconds and see whether or not, as you get to know them a little bit better, are they really a certain leader? Are they going to add value to the company, or are they going to try to add value to themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you get past that first minute mark, then you want it to really get to know them. And at the end of the day, if you have the choice of unlimited number of speakers, you're going to pick the person you like. Right? Not only can this person add value, but I like and have an interest in working with them. So the real benefit, or the real thing about credibility, is that a book is one of those things. If you look at the picture of 10 people, you went to the LinkedIn profile, and of the 10 people you looked at, one person had a book, and the title of the book was exactly what you were looking for as a speaker, and 9 others did not have a book. Well, you're going to immediately get drawn to the person with the book because it's, quote unquote, a credibility piece. Now, if the book had a misspelling on the title, you're like, oh. And then once you said, hey, this person doesn't have credibility, you throw them away. It's harder to come back. Not impossible, harder to come back. So credibility is, as an author, the reason that you would want to do a book. And by the way, publishing these days is a commodity. The interesting part is about if you look at the stats, go to ChatGPT and ask how many people in the world really want to publish a book, and you might get the number as high as 80% of people who actually want to write a book. How many people actually do write the book? It's down to about 10%. How many people get it published? Down to about 5%, right? And so even though it's a commodity, if you have something in you that's strong and burning and you want to publish it, you can. Here's the most important thing. And this is so now that we know the audience and we know that there's a book inside somebody, the most important thing is, let's for a second ignore all the work that's involved in writing a book. You and I had a conversation. I'm getting a PhD at the moment and going through it. I'm ignoring all the work I have to do to get that, because I'm enjoying the process, right? That's the other thing. You got to enjoy the process. But what you want to imagine is snap your fingers as soon as the book is done. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it afterwards? Right? And I think in terms of, I want to, do you mind if I paint a story for people to think about for a second?
Let's go.
All right. So I call it the input-output diagram. It's when I went to undergraduate, my undergraduate degree was in stochastic and deterministic models of operational research.
Oh, yeah.
In essence, I was taught how to model people and systems and improve them.
Okay.
So this is a model I've been using since college. And for those who are listening and not driving, if you have a pen and paper, just on a piece of paper, draw a box. Just in the middle of the paper, draw a box. And then have a line go into the box, call it input.
Okay.
And then have a line go out of the box, call it output. Now, what I'm encouraging you as an author to think about is think about the inputs and outputs. Who are you today? Do you have enough information? Do you need to learn more? What do you need to do to create this thing called a book? Don't worry about doing it. Just worry about what do you think you need to do. And then on the output, what do you need to do to publish it? And what happens afterwards? Because most people get stuck inside the black box. They go through the details and they never get out of the black box. And that's why so many people want to write a book and so few do, because they get stuck in the minutiae of the beginning. But if you think about, even if you replay the conversation we had before we started, the way I spoke naturally, and I'm just replaying it in my head, was inputs, outputs.
Yeah.
What is it do I want to accomplish with a PhD? It's not about getting the title. I
Yeah.
want to put content out in the world that other people can build upon that.
Right.
That's an
Yeah.
output. What am I doing at the beginning? We talked about the oral defense. It's just an opportunity for people on your committee to see if you really validated that. I'm not even thinking about that at the moment. It's in the black box, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I talk to people, the first question I ask them is, why do you want to write a book? And if the answer is, oh, my content's amazing and it's going to sell millions and millions of copies. Okay, just to be clear, that is all inside the box thinking.
Yeah.
Because in order to sell millions and millions of copies, most likely you need to spend millions and millions of dollars. The way the world was is not the way the world is.
Hmm.
And there is no idea, regardless of what it is, that you could put out there, oh, just instantly be successful immediately, right? It just takes time, practice, perseverance. You need to get out there. And so when I say what do you want to have as an output of the book, I'm listening for, you know what, I've got one or two companies, or I'm teaching at a university, or my company today could use that. So here's an interesting thing. I'll give you a hint. If somebody says, if you're an author and you want to write a book because you think inside the company will be valuable to have, here, my biggest hint from publishing 750 books with companies like Cisco, Microsoft, and so on, my biggest hint is to say, take all profits, author profits from the sale of the book and donate it to charity. So if you actually say all author profits go to charity, now what happens is you don't have a vested interest in the book. So you can use it inside the company because it's just an asset that is being used to communicate information. It's an asset that has more credibility than others. And and some people go, oh no, it's going to sell a lot of money, a lot of books. I want to make profit. First of all, most likely it's not going to sell a lot, so it's not going to make a difference. And secondly, it's definitely not going to sell a lot and you make a lot of money inside your company because that's a conflict of interest, right? So
Right.
once again, think about the best advice I can give anyone, input and output. What truly is, if you're going to write the book, what truly is the output? That'll keep you up at night. That'll, when there's a holiday, which there was in the US, that kept me at my computer because I needed to get to a stage where I could then move to my next, my next part of the journey.
Right.
And so that's the biggest thing. What's the input and output? What's the expected output, the realistic expected output of you doing this? And it's not about money or sales or anything, but it could be, I want to have 5 speaking gigs next year.
Hmm.
Great. That's a great output. When you talk about the black box, you have to then say, what are you going to do to get the 5 speaking gigs? Right? But that's
Yeah.
inside the black box.
Okay. Yeah. I think the one thing I get from a common feedback from authors on the show is, whether they're writing fiction or nonfiction, is that a book opens doors and opportunities for them that they wouldn't have otherwise. And it puts them in a better light for people that maybe they want to speak, they want to lead conferences, they want to lead events, they want to be the go-to person in their area for their expertise. That book really does help to kind of open some doors for them, to the point about LinkedIn and the picture of you with the book compared to all the other people who don't have a book. There's just there's a level of I guess acceptance from people who don't have books or are looking for people who are an expert, that book is just that calling card, that example on that thing that gets you into the door and gets you past maybe some of those gatekeepers looking for someone like you to come and speak to their community, right? So leveraging that, if that is part of your goal, great. There's some great opportunities. I like to think of it as a book is a mini little stage that you get to stand on top of, allowing you now to reach a bigger audience. So
Ooh, that's a good way to think about it.
right? It's a way for you to reach out and do something you couldn't do without the book. I like that. As you work with authors, as you have in the past, and over 750 books and authors and all that's amazing. Are you seeing common things from new authors currently in the space? People coming to this more recently in a world of AI and all this other stuff going on in the world. Are you seeing a change in authorship over the years?
Oh, well, the first big change was publishership.
Yes.
So when I started my first publishing company in 2005, I saw the democratization of book publishing happening. It took a whole lot longer than I expected. I would say 2020, when COVID happened, is when we were getting close, really close to that. But COVID and Amazon sort of put the nail in the coffin, and book publishing is now a commodity.
Right. Yeah.
Now, on authoring, 2023 brought a very interesting thing to the world. 2023 made thought leadership ubiquitous. All right, let me repeat this again. If there is a thought leader out there today, you can replicate their knowledge in seconds. I can go to GPT and ask about any book that's out on the marketplace. I could ask for cross comparisons between multiple books and say, hey, come up with something new that none of these top five authors have done. And all that's now at anyone's fingertip. So thought leadership is now ubiquitous. So the real question is, what are you going to do and how are you going to focus? And if you're if you're somebody interested in writing a book, you now have at your fingertips, you need to spend 3, 5, 10, 15,000 to have somebody help you write the book. You have GPT. You could go, hey, listen, I'm writing a book on this topic. Could you prompt me on different questions that you need to ask me so you could help me come up with the right information? And that's part of what I did as a publisher is I would extract information out of people's head in such a way that my writers would then be able to take and write a book. GPT or any one of the Claude, Perplexity, Gemini can do those things for you. You just have to be really good at prompting.
Right.
And so if you want to write a book, and by the way, here's the other thing. I will never I still hire copy editors. I will never hire a content editor again because there's no need.
Yeah.
Absolutely no need. I can go to any one of the AIs and say, listen, you're an amazing content editor who has expertise in this area. Please review this book for structure, format, approach. Let me know what chapters are missing, what needs to be added. Are things put together well? Either you could say, do it in a light fashion, do it in a heavy fashion. I need to report back to the authors or come back with, and the author has 2 weeks before they need to do the work, come back with 2 weeks worth of work for the author to focus on.
Wow.
It's absolutely crazy. And in the past, you'd have to pay for that person and they would be expensive.
Right.
Now you have it at your fingertips. And so the opportunity for you to use the technology to better yourself is right in front of you. And what's important is, I would say you may want, for those people who think globally, please continue to do that. But acting locally is how you can make a better impression. Right? It's because there's becoming an influencer these days and becoming a thought leader. That's a great dream for many people. But what you really want it for most people, if you want to have fun and get a job, you need to influence those people who ultimately will put money in your pocket, and you need to be able to touch them almost directly. I'm sorry, physically, right? But if it's a very focused vertical, you need to spend time understanding that vertical and spending energy in there, not going, the more narrow you can be in your focus, whether it's geographical or vertical, the easier it is for you to be more successful going forward.
It's amazing. Yeah, and I think that's a good perspective for writers as they come into the space. And again, if you're doing this as a hobbyist point of view, if you don't have any formal training, to gather that information and listen to others and follow the journey of others, because you're going to pick up on some stuff. As an avid reader, you're going to pick up on things, and just listening to people who know what they're talking about, I think you're going to learn a lot and be able to apply that to what you do. So I love that. It's great, Mitchell.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about your journey as an author as well, with the multiple books that you have out there. What's some of your common threads that you're seeing as an author for your own works? What kind of ties your works together for the reader?
It's what, as running 4 different book publishing companies, what I was always focused on is how do I make it easier for an author to write a book? And I would come up with a model or a framework. And then, of course, I had to practice it myself, right? So I was always the guinea pig, which ultimately lends its way to 65 books. And we a couple great examples. The first set of books I did were called Happy About. Instead of having books which were 50,000 words or more, I had books which were less than 25,000 words. Right, just a different way to think about it. That's very commonplace today. My next evolution was called 42 Rules. 42 Rules essentially contained 42 500-word articles. So if you've been writing a blog or writing an article, you come together with the word 42, and now you could do them uniquely, or what I found was more relevant is to chunk the 42 rules into chapters or sections, right? So you end up with different sections of your book, and many of my authors have been super successful with 42 rules. The next evolution was the Think Aha series, where Twitter was super hot at the moment. That series contained 140 bite-sized quotes. So you break them into chapters. Each chapter has a intro. Some people did an intro and a conclusion, but then the real bulk of the book were 140 aha messages.
Okay.
And so different models. Now for the book I'm doing now, so this is the most important book I've ever written, is the 66th. And that particular one, I think, as I mentioned, I really learned the definition of credibility. I really found that superpower of clarity. And I spent 5.5 years trying to make that work. And what I realized at the end of the day, and this is important for your listeners to pay attention to, is when thought leadership is ubiquitous. So anyone who wants to be a thought leader, all you have to do is go after it.
Yeah.
When anyone can be anything they want, right? You can sit back and be lazy and not do anything. Or if you want to apply yourself, you can do almost anything you want. So the question becomes, how can you do something that's powerful and people pay attention to it? And the thing that's fascinating is, this is the expression I want you to think about. Sell them what they want, deliver what they need. So for 5.5 years, I was selling credibility and clarity. And a very short while ago, somewhere around 7-8 months ago, a friend of mine sat me down and helped me recognize that clarity and credibility are what people need, not what they want. And I spent 5.5 years. I did okay. I enjoyed doing that. But I realized that the importance that I needed to focus on, and what do people want? What are they asking for? So I currently have 2 businesses. I'll tell you what they are. And I'll give you my CPOP. CPOP stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. It is the formula in which you could articulate in less than 10 words the playground you play in. And I'm playing in 2 playgrounds. So as an executive coach, there's a particular group of CEOs that I'm particularly enjoy being around and add value to. Inc. 5000 CEOs leading the future with executive abundance. So that's 9 words. It's the WHO, Inc. 5000 CEOs leading the future with executive abundance. Now, if you're somebody who's a gatekeeper for a CEO or a CEO, what do
Right.
CEOs want who are fast growing companies? They want abundance.
Yeah.
Great. They're going to ask me the question, tell me more.
Right.
Now, the other group I'm working with is really interesting, and I absolutely love it. Business owners escaping slimy LinkedIn sales tactics.
That happening? Really?
Well, that's the thing. There's so much I love the laughter, so thank you.
Yeah.
There are so many people out there who have the answer or how you could be successful, and many of those successful tactics involve you doing things which are slimy, and they don't feel good when you do them, but you know they work, or somebody tells you they work, so you think they're going to work for you. And the thing is, I have an approach that's different than that. I have an approach where once I know your clarity, your less than 10-word statement, and I understand you're credible. Credibility comes with how you show up online and offline,
Right.
synchronously and asynchronously. Then you need to consistently have a strong commitment to do the right thing by your audience. And I have a process on LinkedIn that I am happy to show people so that essentially they can do relationship building, one-to-one relationship building on LinkedIn. Right? That's ultimately what it comes down to. So it's not about trying to create the next viral piece. Remember, thought leadership
Right.
is ubiquitous. It's about reaching the person who is your prospect and being able to have a conversation with them. At the end of the day is what can you do to be in front of the person who will hire you? And they hire you because they see you as a human who they trust, know, and like, or trust, know, and love.
Right.
And so those are the 2 places I'm playing at the moment. And it took 5.5 years to get here. Maybe you could say my entire lifetime, but it took 5.5 years of real direct focus. And the book is focused on, it's associated with what I'm doing for my PhD. It's focused on bringing a methodology to businesses that will allow them to do something and then something other than just focusing on investors and return on investment. Because it makes for to me, it makes for a better life.
As you look back over the history of LinkedIn, how is it morphed? How has it changed and how the users are interacting with it, how we build community? Because you have a long-standing relationship with that platform. What are you seeing? Where is it going?
That's funny. I've been on LinkedIn since before they were making money. I was in the room with 2 of the 5 founders, and I was paid to write and publish LinkedIn's first book.
Wow.
At the beginning, whenever LinkedIn tried something new, they'd have a bed of guinea pigs who they would try it. And I was lucky enough for a period of time to be part of that guinea pig bed. And I remember when I would put out a post when LinkedIn first created their newsletter thing,
Right.
and I would get 10,000 people seeing it immediately, right? Nowadays, it's more like any other social media platform. They've restricted who gets to see it in such a way so that if you're not paying money, you have limited views, and the more money you pay, i.e., to the platform, the more opportunity you have to reach others. There's the occasional post that just hits a good viral piece, but I'll tell you that if thought leadership is ubiquitous, it doesn't matter about the post. It's about the people who really do need to play in your playground, them seeing you. So what happens is, like any platform, there are people who have tried different techniques and they may have worked at a particular point in time. The most important are people say, hey, do video, you'll go viral, you'll make a lot of money. first of all, doing a video that goes viral in and of itself is not easy. But even if you do, one of my mentors has 1.5 million followers. He will tell you that he's never picked up a client from a post.
Wow.
Right. So the thing that's it, because it's not about that, he has influenced lots of people from a post, certainly a lot more than I can influence from my posts. Right. And so, but in terms of picking up clients, that's not necessarily how people consume the type of data when they're researching who to hire. Right. So
Yeah.
what's changed over time? The inputs and outputs. What does at the beginning when LinkedIn was by itself, different model than when Microsoft owned them. Now that Microsoft owns them, it is the number one vehicle on the planet for businesses to be able to communicate with other businesses. And what's really taken hold was, unfortunately, way too many people applying marketing cookie cutter stuff. So there are people who really should be on LinkedIn, but they don't because they're afraid of being sold to.
Yeah.
And I do have an answer for that, by the way. But that's probably the thing. The people who are not part of it, or companies who don't recognize that every employee of the company is a salesperson for the company, is a marketing person for the company, who have really crappy LinkedIn profiles and subsequently help diminish the brand of the company by the fact that the company hasn't spent any time focusing on that with them or for them.
Okay. Yeah. As I see, like for me, early use for LinkedIn was more of a job search tool than really anything for when I was starting out with it. But I'm seeing a lot more community. I'm seeing a lot more engagement and people building their little communities there, which is really interesting as a platform. There's groups, I believe, now on LinkedIn as well that you can create. And I love when I see a platform mature and understand how to serve their audience better, right? There's a lot of places that are out there where you can build community, but it's the noise that we compete with on some of the other social platforms. I don't get the same feeling on LinkedIn, which I really enjoy.
And so the answer is yes. LinkedIn, the first vehicle they used, and the book that we created for them was called Happy About LinkedIn for Recruiting. So
There you go.
yes, that's the first. This book actually came with a free LinkedIn job posting, right?
Oh,
So the output was, hey, let's get more companies to want to use LinkedIn and pay LinkedIn to job postings, right?
yeah.
With AI, there's a lot more, many more attempts to do community engagement to get people on. And LinkedIn, like many other social media platforms, keep experimenting with what works and what doesn't. And I would say to you as an author, find somebody you like, find a couple of people you like, and just start following them. See what they post, see what they say, see how they interact or exchange in others. The one thing that's happened over time, LinkedIn has helped as well as others. You could talk to and reach almost anyone on the planet. Doesn't mean they'll respond, but if you say something really cool, you could go over to X and you could comment in such a way that Elon Musk will respond, right? You on LinkedIn, you can talk to any one of the CEOs of large companies. Once again, doesn't mean they'll respond. It is, however, open up the door for you to be able to have conversations with people that are important and add value if you have something valuable to say.
So for an author, as we wrap up, Mitchell, an approach to LinkedIn, to community building, one thing you should put into practice, and maybe one thing that's not working currently that maybe you can avoid on LinkedIn. Any suggestions?
I would say I've got something called the 7 habits of effective LinkedIn networking, or a better way to say it, 7 habits of one-to-one relationship building on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And the most important habit. So what do you want to do? First, let's talk about 3 things, and I'll give you the habit.
Okay.
3 things to focus on. A good, credible LinkedIn profile.
Right.
So if somebody looks at it, they're going to get past what I said at the beginning of the conversation. They're going to get past the 5 seconds. They're going to want to learn more about you and be able to establish trust, know, and like of you. Okay. Good, credible LinkedIn profile. You want to nurture your first level connections. One of the easiest way to nurture first level connections is celebrating life events, birthday, anniversary, new job. Not only do you want to wish somebody a happy birthday, you want to respond when they say thank you or give you more information. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then the third thing you want to do is be able to get second and third level connections who should be part of your network to join you. Right. Those are the 3 things you do. Once you are doing all those things, there is the 5% of functionality that brings 80% of value on LinkedIn is spending time in LinkedIn Messenger. Right? The goal is not just to talk, but the goal there is if you said something valuable enough to somebody else, and then you said, hey, I'd love to get time on your calendar. Right? So for you, if there's a certain class of people reaching out to that class saying, hey, I'd love to interview you for this show.
Yeah.
Right? The best vehicle, the best part of LinkedIn is the access you have to the type of people who, when I interviewed my 500 thought leaders on credibility, every one of those interviews came from LinkedIn.
Nice. Good. Anything to avoid on LinkedIn that we should probably not be doing that might be hurting us long term?
Yeah. Generically, try not to do the marketing cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah.
What's been taught, so I'll give you the biggest example, is when what's been taught, this is wrong, when you have somebody's attention, sell them something.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And the best example, if you were at a physical networking event, or even at a family meal, right? A family gathering, and it turns out the CEO of a company you really want to work at is there, would you go to them and say, hey, I'm looking for a job?
Right.
Of course not.
Yeah.
You will build a relationship first, and maybe some other time down the road, reach out. So try to avoid, there is no quick fix, easy solution on anything in life. It just takes people getting to trust, know, and love you.
Out of the 66 books that are available to us as a starting point, where would you want to send a reader for the first time, Mitchell? Where should they start?
Well, at only 65 at the moment.
You have 65. There you go. It's coming.
There's a website. So there are 2 places I can encourage people to go. One is just mitchelllevy.com.
Okay.
So that has all the stuff I'm focused on. Twice a quarter, I do a referral webinar. Why are we not getting the referrals? Feel free. That's a complimentary. Feel free to sign up for that. If you need to book time on my calendar, you can do that from mitchelllevy.com.
Okay.
On a book side, if you go to executiveabundance.com, so that is the 66th book I'm writing. I have some information available, and you could also sign up for the list where I will send you the ebook once it's done.
Nice.
So that's executiveabundance.com. You can get there through mitchelllevy.com or go directly to executiveabundance.com.
Excellent. You've given us an abundance of your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and for opening the door for us. If you're not on LinkedIn, go check out Mitchell's information on LinkedIn as well. You'll model some of the things you're seeing, and it's been tried, tested, and proven it works. So you can always just pick up some great ideas from looking at people like Mitchell out in the world doing what he does well. Mitchell, thank you so much for being on the show.
Dave, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Nice spending time with you. Good listener.
Excellent.
Nice questions.
Excellent. And I love that. Thank you so much, Mitchell. Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.